The elevator chimed gently as it opened onto the highest floor of the sleek, modern tower bearing her name. Clara Bennett, tech mogul and CEO of Bennett Solutions, hadn't intended to be there. Not tonight, not after a grueling 10-hour flight from Geneva with barely a wink of sleep. Yet a subtle nudge, a faint murmur in her heart, urged her to head home. For Clara, home wasn't the lavish penthouse overlooking Central Park. It was this building, her company, her life's passion. Past midnight, the office lay quiet, dim, save for the soft buzz of emergency lights and the occasional shimmer of city glow through vast windows. As she strode down the hallway, her heels aching from hours of wear, she paused. A melody, soft and timid, drifted from the corner lounge, a cozy nook where staff napped, chatted, or recharged. She frowned. No, one should have been there. Stepping closer, Clara slowed, then stopped. Bathed in the gentle blue glow of the city, a man, the custodian, was kneeling, not scrubbing, floors. He was slicing his simple peanut butter and jelly sandwich, placing pieces carefully on a napkin beside a young girl. The child, barely 7, sat huddled on a beanbag, eyes wide, hair tangled. She seemed to carry a weight too heavy for her years. Her hand shook as she reached for the food. The custodian, a middle-aged man with weary eyes and a kind smile, spoke softly. "Eat slowly, little one. No, hurry here." Clara lingered in the shadows, heart pounding, stunned. Was it more shocking that someone was in her, building after hours, or that this man, whose name she couldn't recall, shared his meager meal with a child clearly not his? She stepped forward. The custodian looked up, startled, guilty. "Miss Bennett, I can explain." Clara raised a hand. The girl flinched. Softening her tone, Clara asked, "What's happening here?" He hesitated, rising slowly, instinctively shielding the girl. A protective gesture. "This is Lily," he said. "My granddaughter. She shouldn't be here." Clara's brow furrowed, more puzzled than upset. "I know," he sighed. He explained. Lily's mother, his daughter, had been in a car crash 3 nights ago. No one else could care for the child. He'd used his last vacation days, couldn't afford childcare, and didn't want to leave her alone. So he brought her here, hiding her in corners during his night shifts. "I cleaned the restrooms, keeping one eye on her," he said, voice breaking. "I just didn't want to lose my job. We're barely scraping by." Clara stayed silent. Her gaze shifted to the half-eaten sandwich and the worn backpack beside Lily, stuffed with a tattered bunny and a pair of socks. Clara had spent the week sealing a $200 million deal. She owned designer coats worn once, cars in every city she visited. Yet here was a man who toiled in silence while the world slept, giving his dinner to a child he hadn't planned to raise but chose to love. Her heart clenched. "Come with me," she said softly. He hesitated, wary. "Please, don't call security. I'll leave. Just let her finish eating." "No," Clara said. "Come." He followed her through the glass doors of the executive wing to a kitchen rarely used, stocked with gourmet food for meetings, often left untouched. She gave Lily a warm plate of grilled cheese and tomato soup, real nourishment. Then she sat across from the custodian. "What's your name?" she asked. "Henry," he replied. "How long have you worked here?" 8 years, since before the merger. 8 years, and she'd barely noticed him. She listened as he shared his daughter's struggles, how he'd raised her, alone after his wife died, how he quietly did his job while hoping for a better life for the little girl now dozing on the bean bag. Clara hadn't realized she was crying until she tasted tears. In that quiet, surreal moment, something changed. The next morning, every employee received an email. A new program, Bennett Cares, offered childcare stipends, emergency grants, mental health leave, and a crisis hotline for staff. No questions, no penalties. She also created a new role, community support advocate, with a raise, benefits, and an office. It went to Henry. She'd entered ready to scold, to enforce rules. Instead, she was humbled by the quiet strength of kindness. A year later, Lily, in a crisp dress and shiny shoes, stood beside Clara at the company's annual gala, clutching a bouquet. "She calls you her fairy godmother," Henry laughed, backstage, eyes shining. "She saved me more than I saved her," Clara replied. Kindness doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't come with titles or wealth. Sometimes it's just a sandwich shared in the dark, the courage to care when no one sees. And sometimes that's what changes everything.